Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to be going over some Algebra 1 equations that you should memorize for the Regents exam. So for the Algebra 1 Regents, you are going to get a reference sheet which has a lot of useful equations, but there are a couple equations that are not on the reference sheet that are super important to know, and I would highly recommend memorizing them for the exam. So the first one is pretty simple, it's just a slope formula. So it's change in y over change in x, and then that can be further written as just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and that is just notation for the coordinate points. The second equation is the distance formula. So I have a example here. As you can see, we have 2 points, the first point being 1, 1, and the second point having the coordinates of 3, 3. And then you can also see how the notation is written. x1, y1 is corresponding to the coordinate point of 1, 1. And then x2, y2 is corresponding to 3, 3. So if you were to just do this example here using the distance formula, let's say the question asked, what is the distance between this point and this point? So let me back up here. I would just use this formula. So x2, I know is going to be 3, minus x1 is 1, and that is squared, plus y2, which is also 3, minus y1, which is 1. And that's squared. So what we're going to end up getting is just 2 squared plus 2 squared. So that's just 4 plus 4, and so square root of 8 is the distance in between those 2 points. So the next equation you're going to want to memorize is the vertex form equation. So the vertex form is very important because it's going to help you either graph parabolas or you can use it for completing the square. So it is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Now what do all these variables mean? Well, a is just the coefficient, and that is going to affect whether that parabola opens up or down. And xy is just the corresponding point, which you can find as something that is given. So in this equation here, or in this parabola, you can see that if you're given the points for xy, then what you can do is then just plug it back in for x here and then y here. So xy in the vertex form is what is supposed to vary, because based on your x value, it's like a function. Based on your x value, as your x value changes, your y will change. Whereas a, h, and k will stay constant, given it's the same parabola. So in this example, the parabola has a vertex, and that's just the point, the lowest or the minimum or maximum point. And that is denoted as hx. So h is corresponding to almost like k in x, and then k is almost corresponding like y. So you get something like this, and then if you are to figure out those 2 points, then you can plug it in for h here and k here. All right, so the fourth formula that you will want to memorize is the midpoint formula. So if a question asks you, what is the midpoint between 2 points, you know how to do it. So it is x1 plus x2 divided by 2 for that x point, and then y1 plus y2 over 2 for that y point. So you're getting coordinate points. So if we just use our example that we did for the distance formula, x1 we know is just 1, plus x2 is 3 over 2, y1 which is 1, plus y2, which is 3, all over 2. And we can see we have 4 over 2 for the x-coordinate and 4 over 2 for the y-coordinate. So we know that x is going to be 2 and y is going to be 2 for that midpoint. And that makes sense because if you were to zoom in on this, the midpoint is just the point in between these 2 points, and that is right here. And so it'd be 2, 2. All right, so the final thing that you're going to want to memorize is not really equations, but it's just overall exponent properties For Algebra 1, there are a couple basic ones that you are going to want to recognize. So square root of A times square root of B is the same thing as square root A times B. Square root A over square root B is the same thing as square root A over B. And the final thing is when you have something raised to a power, when it's a fraction, the number on top, so the numerator, is going to be what is squared in the square root form, and then the denominator, the value at the bottom, is what goes on the outside. So that does it for the equations you need to memorize for the Algebra 1 Regents exam. And thank you for watching, and good luck on your exam.